Welcome back to another 78 Camaro video that probably has a lot more not 78 Camaro stuff going on. I'm not exactly certain why we have a Tri-5 frame under her. I'm sure I'll be finding that out soon enough. And I do know we're going to wind up in there because some cars don't want to start. You know, batteries are always a problem when they sit around. So hopefully we get to this. The starter in this is making a funny noise. So we just pulled another battery to see. Let's hear. Yep. That's a funny noise. Okay, so now getting ready to loosen the starter and back it off a little and take a look and make sure we don't have a ground out ring gear. That's the only downside to all this aftermarket stuff and doing custom stuff is it's not easy to get the starter in this thing. Okay, I don't know how well you guys can see. I'm laying on my back under a car that's barely above me, but it did kind of polish the edge of the rings a little bit. And it polished it here a little bit, so it wasn't engaging. But unlike a GM, it's not like I have anything I can adjust here, so I gotta think on this. Why is that not engaging? We moved the ring gear and reinstalled the starter. That's real fun. And now let's see if it still turns over. Nope, still doing the same thing. So whatever has failed, I think it's the actual starter. I don't think the Bendix is throwing it out correctly. Okay, that's not very fun. So we got her out. We're gonna take her into the bench and take a look and see if we can figure out what's going on. Wonder if it's the solenoid not throwing the Bendix or not. We'll go find out. Okay, we've cleaned it all out. We figured out where we were screwing up. And now you can see that's out. And it's back. And it works with authority. So that should be throwing the Bendix. So I think we're going to put it back together a little bit further. And make sure the actual Bendix throws before we try to actually rotate it. Alright, let's see what happens here. I got two of the bolts in. We got that all back together. I don't have it hooked up to spin it. It should only shoot it out. So, like I show all the time, without a battery, you gotta hold that. And at some point, it just happens and it scares the bejesus out of you. Sometimes also it's like you didn't push it. So, see, yeah, that Bendix definitely came out with authority. So I don't know that that's our problem. Well, actually, that's really easy to push back on. Didn't expect that. Huh. That's actually pretty weak. Yeah, any pushback at all. So what's supposed to happen, see the beveling here? That should be able to kind of push the crank a little bit or to counter this back a little bit. Because see, it can spin backwards to get it lined up with the ring gear. And this does not have as much force as I was expecting it to. So I wonder if that's what's happening is we're hitting the ring gear. It doesn't have much force and it's just whirring against the ring gear. How many more times can I say that? Our theory here, and anybody who knows starters better than me can correct us on this, but my theory is that this solenoid got too hot. Because I'm pretty sure this is a permanent magnet. Oh my God, it's hot now. But where it sits with the exhaust and everything, and it has no heat shielding of any kind, and I know for a fact this truck was overheated a little, I think that might be the problem. So even though we checked all this and it all works, boy, it doesn't take any force to keep it from popping out. We've played with it a few times, and yeah, it is not very strong at all. So even though it's kicking the Bendix out, we think instead of going all the way out, it's hitting the ring gear, and it doesn't have enough force to re-index it. It just sits on it and starts spinning because, you know, the motor's spinning and never quite engages in the ring gear, and it doesn't have the force to push it that little bit in. So we think that's our theory right now. So we're not sure what we want to do about that. I have to find out if we can even get one of these solenoids. God, I can't get over how hot that still is. We may have played with that too many times. We've decided we need to know more. But this nose has a 9403 PowerMaster number on it. So, one, he's going to find out if we have a lifetime warranty. We may or may not. But two, we're going to see... God, that's still hot. What we want to do about this... it's the Ultra Torque from PowerMaster, probably from Summit. But we want to see if this is really the starter we want to use in that application. And two, can we get a blanket on her? That would definitely help. And the other thing is, maybe what we need to do is go back to a Ford style where the solenoid is divorced. It's not our favorite option, but that may be another option for us. Once again, even though it's getting a little later, we're seeing how much closer we are to being able to actually hang those now. One thing we noticed, the plates that he bought, the used plates, they're all got a severe bend to them. So we went back to the other axle, and well, those also have the same bend to them, and they almost look intentional. The other thing we noticed is, now remember, we can't use these tops because we don't have that kind of mount. But this mount definitely is a better fit here than these are. So we might wind up with a red one on the top and a black one on the bottom. We're working that out right now. Now we're trying to decide how the top mount's going to go. Obviously, we either have to drill this out or cut this nub off. But here's another thing to note. When we come back to the shock, if I drop it on there, there's a bit of slop, so I'd need to make a bushing. But more importantly, if I do just cut that off to try to locate it, see, that's all the thicker that is. So that's not really going to be enough. So we got to decide how we want to handle that as well. So see, this would work fine down here, but still has a bit of slop. But that has way too much slop in it. So we're going to take this. I believe we're going to take the black one, which does fit the bottom plate. Let's go see what kind of slop this guy has. I bet it still does. Yeah, starting to wonder if the bottom gets located as positively as I thought. So we'll keep working. Okay, so we've done some sharpening, and now that fits in there. And then a little squishy squish, that'll help locate that. Of course, we still got to do that one. It's not very fun. You got to be real careful. We don't want to hit this tube. So we've been being very slow about this. Slowly getting there. Got to keep sharpening this thing. It's unhappy. Well, that wasn't fun. We made a mess. But those are ready to index now. So you can see the red ones will be the ones on the top. And they'll index on these pins and then into the hole. So that's how that'll work. Alright, this thing's in our way, so it's time for that to go. He's getting ready to pop the door, and we're going to go move this into another stall because, you know, don't need a double-decker car. Okay, the downside to the sandblasting is now those drum brakes on that frame are just packed full of sand. And pushing that was as hard as pushing the white truck. So there. Now we got all that out of there now. It's amazing how much lighter that is without that on it. Okay, and now we're just kind of doing a quick test fit because boy, this plate's close, but it's honestly not a big deal, so that won't matter. Yeah, now remember these factory plates, they've got a little more bow to them than we were expecting. And we'll play with the tightening, you know, getting them until they settle the way we want. But to be fair, you know, it really is all about this, locating reference to this. The bottom is just a big sandwich and holds the shock. And we turn the shock to the inside for the adjustments because I seriously doubt you're ever, once a tire is going to be on there and the brake going to ever be able to get in there. So we haven't put the nuts up on the top yet because one, it doesn't quite line up as good as I'd hoped, and two, they gave us a a bolt and nut, and I have no idea how we're getting in there to do that. When you look over on this side where nothing is yet, you'll see it's just a threaded hole and a threaded hole and a teeny tiny space here. No idea how you're supposed to use their setup. So we're gonna have to, one, find these bolts, and two, hope they're strong enough to hold those shocks up and get them straightened out. And there you go. The rear end is in. We're still getting used to the splay on the U-bolts, but honestly, I don't know why they wouldn't work. So, yeah, this is an interesting setup. You always forget how weird they did things for, 100 years. So, really prefer our setup up here. But yeah, 78's finally coming along. And with that, I lost my blister finally after the burn. But I think we're calling it. It's later than we want it to be. I'm tired and old. But something must be right, because even though the springs are at this arc and everything, the axle's actually in the correct position. So those perches are mounted correctly. That makes us feel a little better. So, well, we actually wound up working on a few cars tonight. Looking at some batteries, because batteries don't last anymore. So I'm going to toss it over to ShopRex. Thanks for watching. All right, and ShopRex says, always have fun working on your cars. Try to be safe and eat all the candy.